Hello everyone, this is Rashmi and today's class is for Algebra 2 and Pre-Cal beginning class. So today we are going to learn how to read the graph and look for positive and negative values, look for the decreasing and increasing values, and how to find the absolute or local or relative maxima or minima. So let's start this class. So first thing is, if you have a graph like this, it's a simple graph. Look at this simple graph. So when you are looking for this graph, domain and range, make sure you start looking from your left and you go towards your right to see your domain. So for this particular, as I can see, arrows are going like this down. So definitely you are covering all the values in your domain. So domain is your all real number or from minus infinity to positive infinity. Now start looking for your range. Your range means you start from your bottom from minus infinity and you go up. So here we can see that your graph is ending at this point. Your graph is not going more than that. So let's see from minus infinity, and this is my 0, 0 origin. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, so this is going up to 9 from minus infinity up to 9. This is my range. So this is how you look for your domain in the range. Now, increasing and decreasing. So I can see that my values are going till here, all increasing up to this point, and from here it is decreasing. So increasing values, increasing from minus infinity up to this point, which is your 1, and decreasing from, again, from 1 up to infinity. This is your increasing and decreasing. Look at this. Now we are going to see the negative and the positive. So you know all these values are my negative values, and from this line above are all my positive values. So if I see particular this graph, if I see this graph, my values are, this is negative 2 and this is your 4 and negative 2. So I can see that my values from here till this, I can see only down values. If I start from here, all negative values, because arrows are going, that means all negative value till negative 2. So negative is from minus infinity till 2. Then from 2 to 4, this value is all positive. I can see values up. So positive from negative 2 till 4. That interval from here to here includes only positive value. And from 4 again till infinity, it's all negative value. So again, I'm explaining, when you are looking for your domain, you start from your left, go towards your right, and you see how many of your x values are included. If arrows are like this, that means all x values are included. But when you see for your range, you start from bottom down to go up, and you can see, okay, minus infinity, everything is included, but after that, no point is included. So 9 is become your maximum point for this particular graph. Now, x-intercept and y-intercept. What do you mean by x-intercept? Where it is cutting your x-axis. So I can see it is cutting at minus 2 and 0, and your 4 and 0 are your x-intercept. And where it is cutting your y, it is cutting at your y at when x is 0 and y is 8. Y. So x-intercept, when you see a graph cutting that, it becomes your solution or the roots or your x-intercept. Wherever it is cutting your y-axis, that becomes your y-intercept. So for that particular graph, it is very much clear what do you mean by positive, negative, and increasing and decreasing, and your domain and the range, x-intercept and y-intercept. Now we are going towards your global or local maxima or minima. So when you see any graph, so now let's take a graph. So for example, this is my graph with endpoint here at A starts. So this is your B, C, and your D. Look at the graph very closely. Now I'm going to explain what do you mean by global or absolute maxima and minima. For this particular graph, we have to see where those changes are happening and which value is your highest value in the graph. So changes are happening at B, C. So from at C, at B you can see the graph was increasing and then started decreasing. Again from C it started increasing. So definitely there is a change at B and C. So B becomes your max and C becomes your minimum. And A and D are your endpoints. They both are your endpoints. Now, which is the highest point? Highest point in this graph. Look at the highest point. Highest point in this particular graph is your D. D is your highest point. And which is your lowest point? Lowest point is your C. So for this particular graph, you have B as change happening, C as change happening, A and D are your two endpoints, and D is your maximum value and C is your minimum value in this particular graph. So your B becomes your relative maxima, your D becomes your absolute maxima, your C becomes your relative minima and absolute minima, and your A has nothing because A is your just the endpoint. Okay. Now let's look for some more graph. In this particular, we are going to change this as arrow. Look at this. When any graph you are looking and you can see that domain is all real number, range is all real number, that means absolute maximum or minimum does not exist because there is no value in the graph which is highest. So if you see that all values are included in your domain and range, then there is no absolute or global maxima minima exist in that particular graph. So but B and C are your relative or local maxima and minima. So change is happening at B. So again B remains your local slash relative maxima and C is your local or relative minima. Let's change this graph a little bit more. So you, for example, you start from here and that's it. You have this graph. So you can see that your change was here, then you have a change here, and then you have a change here. That's it, and then no change. Again, domain means all real number you are talking about in this word. But if this is your A, this is your B, and your C, how many maxima occur in this particular graph? You have A and C as two maxima and B as your one minima. And what is the highest point in this graph? That is your C. C is your highest point. So that becomes your absolute maxima or global maxima. And do we have any minima? No, because domain include all real numbers. That means there is no point exists, which is your lowest point in this particular one. So that's all for today's class, and see you all in my next class with my next topic, and practice, practice, and practice.